1,000-pound sisters, the real reason Tammy Slaton is determined to leave Kentucky. Could her stubborn attitude mean she's leaving the show? 1,000-pound sisters star Tammy Slaton has been making more and more noise about leaving Kentucky. But could it mean she's leaving the show as well? It would be difficult to imagine the show without 38-year-old Tammy. The unscripted series, which premiered in 2020, revolves around Tammy and her 37-year-old sister, Amy Slaton. The show gets its name from Tammy and Amy, who weighed a combined 1,000 pounds during season 1. The sisters have both had bariatric surgery and lost a lot of weight since then, which is the main focus of the beloved show. When 1,000-pound sisters premiered in 2020, Tammy weighed 608 pounds. Despite her severely limited mobility and her diminished quality of life, Tammy couldn't stick to a diet or fitness routine. Not only did she fail to lose weight, she kept gaining more weight. It wasn't long before Tammy weighed a shocking 725 pounds. After a health crisis scared Tammy straight, she finally focused on changing her life and committing to her weight loss journey. Though Tammy managed to change her body, she's still as stubborn as ever, and it may drive her off the show for good. Tammy's complicated living situation. She's lived with almost every other Slaton before Tammy had bariatric surgery. Her mobility was limited, and she needed help with everyday life. She couldn't bathe herself, feed herself, or drive herself around. Even leaving home was a big event that required a wheelchair, a walker, a ramp, and a specialty van with the seats ripped out so Tammy could sit on the floor. Because she needed so much constant help, she couldn't live alone and grew to depend on her family. When that ended badly, she lived with her mother for a while, which didn't last long. Tammy once lived with her brother, 44-year-old Chris Combs. After the 1,000-pound sisters star fought with her mother, she ended up living with Amy. When Amy married Michael Halterman, Tammy moved into the house next door so both Amy and Michael could help with her day-to-day needs. After her health scare, Tammy checked herself into a weight loss rehabilitation facility. While she was there, her home was robbed, and she lost all of her belongings. When she left rehab, she no longer felt safe living in her old place, so she moved into a house owned by her other sister, 43-year-old Amanda Halterman. Tammy accused Amanda of being a bad landlord. Their big fight explained during 1,000-pound sisters season 6. Tammy blew up at Amanda over the state of the house. According to Tammy, Amanda was a terrible landlord who refused to make repairs in a timely manner. During one episode, Tammy needed Chris to install plastic film over a broken window. Tammy alleges that Amanda's son broke the window while fooling around, and Amanda refuses to pay to fix it. After a big fight between Tammy and Amanda, Tammy stormed out and gave Amanda her notice that she'd be vacating the premises. With Tammy needing a place to live, Chris offered up the house he and his wife, Brittany Combs, had just purchased. The house is right next door to their house. They purchased the home, which needed a lot of work, as an investment property, but Chris offered it to Tammy instead. Tammy's extreme stubbornness has caused trouble with every other family member she's lived with, so the concern is that Tammy could cause problems for Chris and Brittany too. Why Tammy wants to leave Kentucky? She needs space. The Slatons have always been an extremely close-knit family, and though that can be wonderful, it can have its downsides, too. Tammy loves her family, but the 1,000-pound sisters season 6 star longs for space and independence. It's ironic that Tammy is the one who wants to get away from everyone else when she seems to be the one making most of the trouble. Tammy's problem is her stubbornness. All she had to do was apologize to Amanda for being rude to her, and she could have continued living in Amanda's house, but Tammy's pride wouldn't let her humble herself. If Tammy were a Shakespearean character, Her fatal flaw would be her infinite stubbornness. Instead of trying to work things out with Amanda, Tammy puts Chris and Brittany in a difficult position. They have to rush to get the new house ready or let Tammy stay with them for a while. Currently, Chris and Brittany are living with Chris's daughter and granddaughter, so it's already a full house. Chris is always there for his family, but Tammy is pushing his generosity to its limit. Chris is understandably concerned that moving Tammy in could cause problems in his marriage. Though he wants to be there for his family, Chris has to put his wife first. Will Tammy leave the show? She has a lot of work to do. Though the Slaytons grew up in Indiana, they've lived in Kentucky for a long time, and that's where the show films. If Tammy were to leave Kentucky to get away from her family, she couldn't be on the show anymore. Without Tammy, the show wouldn't exist, at least not in its current format. Tammy won't let her extreme stubbornness put an end to 1,000-pound sisters for good. Tammy may want to leave Kentucky to get away from her family, but, the truth is, she still needs them. After treating her food addiction and having bariatric surgery, the 1,000-pound sisters star lost a stunning 500 pounds. Though losing so much weight gave Tammy a lot more mobility than she ever had, she still needed a lot of help with her day-to-day life. Now that Tammy can fit into a normal car seat, she can drive, but she refuses to learn how. Refusing to learn to drive is another example of Tammy's obtuse stubbornness holding her back from being completely independent. 1,000-pound sisters. The Slaytons explored their roots in England after incredible weight loss milestones. They all have their mobility back. The Slaytons traveled to England during 1,000-pound sisters season 6. And the trip was a tribute to their incredible weight loss journeys. The getaway would have been unthinkable when the beloved unscripted series premiered in 2020. Back then, 38-year-old Amy Sladden and 38-year-old Tammy Sladden weighed a combined 1,000 pounds, which is where the show got its provocative name. They both had limited mobility, especially Tammy, who would barely leave the house, let alone embark on a transnational voyage. Since making their television debuts, Tammy and Amy have had bariatric surgery, lost a considerable amount of weight, and discovered a newfound love of travel. Several of their siblings have also gotten in on the weight loss action, going on their own health and fitness journeys. During 1,000-pound sisters season 6, the Slaytons traveled all the way across the pond to the United Kingdom to take full advantage of their hard-won mobility. Read to the end to see photos from their trip, and to learn more about their adventure. The Slaytons have been roaming. They also traveled to Florida. Losing weight transformed the Slaytons' lives on many levels. Sure, it changed the way they look, but it also altered their lives in numerous other ways. For one, it meant they were free to roam about the country. After having bariatric surgery, Tammy took her first flight, and she didn't even need the extra seat she had purchased just in case. The Sladden family took a group trip to Florida, where they discovered their love of traveling. Later, several of the Slaytons went to Disney World on another trip, following up their trip to London. Tammy and Amanda look regal in costumes. They've both lost so much weight while the Slaytons traveled several times in the United States. They took a much longer trip farther away from home during 1,000-pound sisters season 6. The Slaytons traveled to the United Kingdom, a place where their ancestors lived. The Slaytons seemed to have a great time, and they even donned Elizabethan costumes at one point. Tammy recently posted Instagram photos of her and her sister, 43-year-old Amanda Halterman, looking incredible in Renaissance-style attire. What's next for the Slaytons? Tammy may leave Kentucky now that the Slaytons have proven that they can travel across the ocean. During the last few seasons, they've traveled to Florida and the United Kingdom, so perhaps they'll travel again during 1,000-pound sisters season 7. The world is their oyster. Whether or not the Slatons continue to roam around the world, the 1,000-pound sisters stars are sure to keep pursuing their incredible health and fitness goals.